Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Today is a beautiful Sunday morning. It is March 14th, and we are coming off a very successful night in the NBA at Coach Talk. Terrific to see all the members posting everything from takedowns to 50-50 and double up winners, some single entry contests, the whole 9 yards. So it was a great full day. We actually swept the day with a early slate, and then of course our main slate, and then D Lux had suggested an after hours shot, and we did it. And boy, it was a great decision because we made some serious money on it. So fun day for sure, and really thankful for our whole family there at Coach Talk. Everybody was listening in and firing off gifts and getting the vibes going. And I swear, when it's like that, we always just crush it. So very, very fun evening, and we're just as excited for today. Of course, the NBA slate and the fourth round there at Sawgrass for the Players Championship. That should be a fun one to catch. And of course, last night, it doesn't get better when the fighting coaches, the Dallas Mavericks, roll over the Fighting Joe Stantons, as Andrew refers to him, also known as the Denver Nuggets. And it was definitely, I guess the best way to put it in speaking to Joe was eat my dust, I think is what we said, because the Nuggets just could not make it with the Mavs. So I kid, of course. It was a fun game, and it was we had a lot of fun with it in chat as well. But you guys aren't here to listen to that. You guys are here to jump on the money train and get on these picks and get it going. So we're going to do that. It's weird today. There's a 9-game NBA slate, but there's only 8 games in consideration for us. And the reason being is both DraftKings and FanDuel have a 2-game early slate. That's Memphis, Oklahoma City, and Utah, Golden State. So we are going to look at that separately. And then there's this mystery game that's 30 minutes before lock and just in between. And it's being ignored because the main slate on all 3 sites, DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo, starts at the 7 p.m. time as normal, and it is a 6-game slate. So, we lose one in the shuffle. We have the 2-game early and the 6-game late, which is perfect. And that's how we'll get rocking down the road here. Real quick, if you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second right now on the way in the door here and hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe. That's extremely important to us. And that makes all the difference in the world as far as moving up the rankings there in YouTube. If you're listening to us on any of our audio places of like iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, you name it, we're out there. If you can take a second, give us a 5-star rating, give us a quick comment. Again, same principle, moves us up on the algorithm, helps us get the word out there. So very good stuff, and we really do appreciate you guys tuning in. All right, what do you say we hit this 2-game early slate and try to get off to that fast start like we did yesterday? The first game, again, it's 2 o'clock Eastern. It is the Memphis Grizzlies -6.5 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The over-under's 220.5, and those lines are from our good friends at BetUS.com.pa. Memphis on the first night of a back-to-back, and Oklahoma City on the second night of a back-to-back. So we got to see how that affects everything. The pace of play in this game, you have Memphis 8th and Oklahoma City 13th. So, for 2 teams that you don't expect, you would think get up and down the floor as quickly as they do, they're both definitely above average. So, it makes the game interesting. And the only part that's the negative side of that is they are 7th and 9th, respectively, defensively. Early news right here. We do have Mikhailuk playing for the first time for the Thunder, so that's a nice addition for them. And as far as injuries, the massive news on the Thunder side is Shea and Baisley are both questionable. So I'm hoping they play because they sat out the last game of this doubleheader. So I'm leaning on hoping they'll play, but have to have that news because it obviously affects all that usage with Shea, especially for the Thunder. Okay, in this matchup, let's take a look at a couple of things here. You know, right now, the probable lineups for the 17 and 17 Memphis Grizzlies is Morant, Bane, Brooks, Anderson, and Valanciunas. So no changes there. We know they have some strong play off the bench. Last time it was Brandon Clark that really just dominated. And then for the Thunder, uh, you know, I'm going to guess that they're in. So right now I have Maladon, Shea, Dort, Baisley, Horford. But again, we need the news on that because if that switches, then you're going to see, uh, you know, I'm sure you'll see some Mikhailuk, but you'll have some of that bench stepping up, and if Baisley sits, it'll be probably the same as yesterday with Roby being elevated there. So certainly need news there, but right off the top of my head, as far as who I like in this game, I think it is a good game for Ja. I like this matchup, and I think he can take advantage of Maladon. Really that first rotation of the backcourt for Oklahoma City is not stout defensively. So I think Morant's a pay-up guy, but I think he's well worth it. Al Horford played yesterday. He doesn't usually play back-to-backs, but he's not listed on the injury list yet. So we need to follow that because if he plays, I'm not gonna play Valanciunas. If Horford sits, then I will play Joe Val. So that news is dependent for this 2-game early slate on whether Joe Val makes it or not. I think you can get away with multiple plays here from the Memphis side at pretty good value with Brooks specifically. Anderson had his role cut a little bit the last game with Clark playing so well, but he's certainly a potential player. And, Clark played great. So once he gets in a groove and starts, bringing some of those games together one after the other, then he's a good solid play because his price is still reasonable. So that is game one. So that's what we're looking at there. Game two, a real battle of wills here. It's the first night of a back-to-back for Golden State, by the way. Utah Jazz are 28 and 9. Golden State is 19 and 19. BetUS has this as Utah 6.5-point favorite, same spread as the last game, but the over/under almost a full 10 points higher than the first game at 230. And the pace, Utah's 18th, so not as bad as people think. They just totally slow people down. They just defend the daylights out of them is what they do. Great pace up for them, though. Golden State is 2. So that's, that makes you interested. But then this is 2 of the higher defensive ranked teams that we've had clash in some time. Utah's 3rd, Golden State is 4th. So neither one of these teams is going to allow a blow-up game, you would think, unless something went wrong within. But both of these teams definitely can defend. As of right now, it's looking pretty good. None of the key players are out at this earlier time in the morning, so we'll keep an eye there. But Utah's probable lineup is Conley, Mitchell, Bogdanovich, O'Neal, and Gobert. Again, they've been super consistent with that. Golden State, similar: Curry, Wiggins, Oubre, Green, and Looney. So no surprise there either. Now, interesting because it is 10 points higher than the other game. And all four teams are in the top 10 defensively. So this isn't going to be any cup of tea here trying to knock out these first two games, because there's really, statistically, it's all a bit of a concern for each team. Now, I like the fact that it's pace up for Utah. And for me, that brings Conley into play, especially with Curry defense. Donovan Mitchell also in play. I think he's always going to be out there to finish, and he's just a strong play. I respect the interior defense of Golden State. I think that's the best part of their defense. So Bogdanovich, O'Neal, and Gobert are not as strong of plays for me. If I do go with Joe Val in the first game, then I'll be set at center. The only way I'd consider Gobert is if Horford is in that first game. Then I think I would just go to Gobert, and the fact that it's an island game for them, and I think he'll get tons of run. And Golden State rotates at that center position, and he should dominate the glass, and there should be a lot of shots going up, because both of these teams like to shoot the ball. So that is where we're at. A little bit tough of a two-game slate here, but some good plays across the board as far as who you can pay up to. I think everybody's pay up guy, because he's really the only monster pay up guy here, is Steph Curry. And, I can't, complain about that for anybody. And, may play him, but he's not the first guy in by any stretch. And I'm almost half tempted to go, on DraftKings and Yahoo, where you can play two bigs if the game script, like I'm thinking of having both Joe Val and Gobert in there with Ja, and going on a bigger lineup and let Curry out of there. That's a possibility too. You don't get that same option on FanDuel, so you got to do a combination of those two builds, and I think you can be right in the thick of it. So, all right, how about the main slate? It is a wonderful 6-game slate. By the way, the game that skipped today that nobody's going to watch because it doesn't matter for DFS was the Spurs and Sixers. So see you later, Spurs and Sixers. All right, 6 games, main slate. I want to quickly thank our sponsor for this podcast today. There's 2 of them, actually. BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. Sign up with BetUS for the first time, your first deposit of $149, and use the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, no space, and you will not only receive the $149 to play in BetUS, but you'll get a free membership through with DFS CoachTalk all the way through June 1st. So crazy to pass that up. Really recommend you go there. If you don't want to sign up at BetUS, you've already have an account there, you can still go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, and sign up for the deal that goes for $149 from now until June 1st. So either way, we've got you covered. Also, if you want to just dip your toe in the water, we have a 3-day membership for $10. So love to see you in there. We have the best community in the business, best members, just fantastic. All right, first game on the main slate. Miami, 20-18. Orlando, 13-25. The line right now is Miami 7. The over-under 211.5, so a low number. Neither team is on a back-to-back. You've got pace-wise Miami 25 and Orlando 16. So again, that's the reason for the low number. Defensively, Miami 6th, Orlando is 21st. So, not a game to circle and say this is going to be a shootout up and down the floor. We do have major injuries here. Bam is out, Fournier's out, Gordon's out, and Terrence Ross is questionable. So that does open up some value. On the Miami side, you can go back to Kelly Olynyk in this matchup. He's certainly a good option. Jimmy Buckets, who's been playing flat out awesome, is a great play here. I have no problem paying up for him in this matchup. Not thrilled with backcourt right now because of how much traffic there with Nunn and Robinson and Dragic and Hero on down the line. So really for Miami, it's about Butler and Olynyk for me. And on the Orlando side, the one buy-up center that right now is the favorite for me to make my roster in the main slate is Vuk. No Bam makes it a big difference, and Vuk's been on fire, and he's shooting a ton of shots. He's getting close to 6 3-point field goal attempts per game, which leads centers. So, gotta love that. He's very involved. You could go, if you want to go on the cheap, you do have actually 4 good options here. The other 4 starters, especially if Ross is out, they're not going to have anything off the bench. So Michael Carter-Williams isn't quite as cheap, and he disappoints a lot, but he can do very well. Dwayne Bacon has been steady since he's been getting a starter minutes. And then the other 2 guys are more of GPP style for me, Okiki and Aminu. Not crazy about either one, but again, in a GPP to fill out a lineup, I could live with it. Okay, game 2 on the main slate. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers at 14-23 against the Atlanta Hawks at 18-20. The BetUS line here is Atlanta by 6.5 and the over-under 223.5. So a better over-under, competitive game. Pace-wise, though, Cleveland's 24th, Atlanta 19th. So, 2 teams you would think would push a little bit more. They don't. But here's what makes you want to play guys here. We're talking about 22nd and 25th defensively. So Atlanta's on the second night of a back-to-back on top of that. So very interesting. I've got to think they're tired in this game. I mean, they played Sacramento last night, and it was close for a good portion of the game. And we'll see. Cleveland has definitely, since a bunch of their guys came back, it's really confusing at who's going to do what and how those minutes are going to all play out. So we'll see how it goes. Injury-wise, Prince is out for Cleveland. Garland is probable. So it looks like Garland will play, which does make a difference in this game for sure. The probable lineup for Cleveland is Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Kevin Love, who's back, and Jared Allen. And they also have Nance Jr. back. So they've got some depth a little bit all of a sudden. So I think that, it's exciting stuff to see what they're able to do here. Don't like Cleveland that often, but I think that there's some very good plays here. Colin Sexton against that Atlanta backcourt, I think, is a monster. And if Darius Garland is not on any type of minutes restriction coming back, he tore it up last time as well. So, I need to do a little bit more. Well, I've done a ton of research, but the literal news of him being probable is out there. But as far as how many minutes to expect, or if there's any type of restriction, that I don't know yet. But I am looking at that backcourt from Cleveland. I think it's, potentially very good. As far as the bigs go, I don't want Jared Allen against Capella. Capella's just too good. In fact, I like Capella on the other side of the ball. I think that, you know, they play him decent minutes on back-to-backs. I would expect him to get close to his full run. And, I think he dominates Allen in the paint. I don't see Capella not getting in deep and getting it done there. So, he may be my pivot from Vuk. He's a little overpriced, but, we'll see where this goes. But, so there's an option there. And really, not looking at Herder, Snell, Bogdanovich, those guys. I assume Bogdanovich would step up playing against his old team for the very first time in Sacramento, and he just couldn't get it done. He didn't get a ton of minutes, and he was pressing for sure. I think he was like 3 for 13 or something from the field. So he did get some shots up, and some of those are going to start going in, and he'll be a good value play when they do, but still doesn't look like he's 100% right to me. So I am not going to push the envelope there. Okay, 4 more games on this main slate, a really competitive slate. We have the 8 o'clock Boston-Houston game. Houston has been just, what we're talking about, a hot, steaming pile of you-know-what. They just can't. They haven't won since February 7th, the game that Christian Wood got hurt. So, wow. Boston's an 11-point favorite on the road. It's a 224 over-under, which I think is a fair number. Neither team is on a back-to-back. You have the 23rd paced Boston team with a huge pace up for them, with Houston being 4th in the league. So that makes some Boston guys interested. Defenses are 18th for Boston, 10th for Houston. But Houston they were 6th and 7th and 9th and 10th. So that's the progress or decline of progress that they're on. Injuries. Gordon Eric Gordon's out, Wall's out, House is out, Nwaba is questionable. So it's back to that, Houston, value plays of guys that normally don't get massive minutes, but will be very key to this game. Oladipo right now is scheduled in, so we'll see if that stays with what they're talking about, because he has sat some games recently. I know he's in trade talks, the whole 9 yards. But with a game, where they had the day off yesterday, I think that you got to at least consider him as possibly being a big contributor here. The problem is he's going to get some Smart defense, and Marcus Smart, that is, and that doesn't help matters. But, Smart is still ramping up minutes from his time out. So we'll see if he doesn't get a full run there against him. I think Oladipo is going to be dangerous, because the guys you can consider for me on Houston, of course, Kevin Porter. He's looks like usage-wise, he's going to have his hands on the ball, doing a lot of stuff out there. Certainly Oladipo as a pay-up, very well may be a great play here. Not really going to dig deep this time with the Browns, Tates, Pattons, all those guys. Just don't see the necessity. But Porter and Oladipo definitely have my interest and are on my initial list here. On the Boston side, Walker, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Tice, pretty much exactly what we expected. This should be a free-for-all scoring. The question is, is it going to be split evenly, specifically between Walker, Brown, and Tatum? And now you have Smart back in there a little bit. And that creates a situation where, where are they going to be defended well? Who's going to guard whom? And how is that all going to play out? Jayshawn Tate's a crafty defender. He'll probably guard Tatum in my book. I'm thinking Oladipo is going to guard Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown is dangerous. So that leaves me with the guy I'm looking at here as my favorite play on the Boston side, and that's Kemba Walker. He's played better and better. I think he's going to get just average to below average defense against him. And in a wide open game like this, I think Kemba can cause a lot of trouble, and he's my favorite play on the Boston side. So definitely have to have some exposure here, in my opinion. Um, it's not the highest game. It's actually like fifth out of eight. But I just think that with the way Houston has been getting filleted here, that this could be a game that ends up being pretty high scoring that you really want to have some exposure to. All right, next game, another 8 o'clock, or Portland at Minnesota. Trailblazers are 22-15 against the T-Wolves at 8-30. That stings a little bit. Portland -5 over the famous number of 230 at 234. These two teams played yesterday, and they're playing again today. So one part of the COVID NBA stacking these like double headers or back to backs. You think it's like baseball, but they are playing on second night in a row. There are some definite things we can take away from yesterday. Right now, Portland is 21st in pace, but Minnesota's third. So big pace up game for Dame and company, and a bit of a pace down for Minnesota. So interesting there. But this is the part that caught my eye. These are the two worst defensive teams that are matching up against each other, 28th and 23rd. So with that number, being as high as it is, it's the second highest on the board, and the defenses being that bad, you've got to have some interest here, especially since Minnesota has a short bench. D'Angelo Russell remains out, Beasley's out, Culver's out, McLaughlin's out. So, they've got a ton of people out, starting some new rotation of guys. So this could be a really good opportunity for Minnesota. Portland's lineup: Lillard, Trent, Jones, Covington, Kanter. Kanter had a great game against Cat, and Cat had a great game against Kanter. And we did mention that exact thing on the podcast yesterday, and I don't see why there's any reason to get away from it. I think they both can have big games here. Their opponent there at center is not strong defensively on either side. And I think a lot is going to be run through and to those guys in this one. I do like Cat. I just don't think he's going to be able to push Valanciunas or specifically Vuk out of there for me. Those are the two guys that I think have a slight edge, but Cat would be close to that range for sure. Lillard didn't have his best game scoring. Well into it, he only had 2 points, and then he started getting hot. I think he's the guy here that's the bounce back big game guy. A lot of people didn't think he got the points he should have yesterday, so you'll have some people sour about him. I just think it's a good fit. I don't think that backcourt that they have right now can defend him at all. So this is my really second serious pay up guy, and he's super expensive, but I think he could be right up there, specifically with the guards. I think he'll be very possibly the highest scoring guard on the entire slate. So fired up for Lillard. You could take a look at a few other guys. Derek Jones is a sneaky guy, as is Gary Trent. They both paid off. Covington has had some weird games. He has little stretches where he looks like the Covington that played in his prime at Philly and everything else. And then he has games where he just sort of goes through the motions and takes the game off and puts up very average numbers. So a lot of risk reward, maybe more of a GPP play on that side of the ball. All right, we have 2 games left. Thank you. Nice hot cup of coffee. 2 games left to go. Clippers 25-14 at the New Orleans Pelicans 16-22. The BetUS line is Clippers -6. And here's our highest total of the day, night, and whatever you want to call it, 236. First night of a back-to-back for the Clippers. So we got to just triple check before that game that they don't try to sit Kawhi or George to play tomorrow against the Mavericks, which, so I hope this game goes like quadruple overtime. But if they both play, it's an ideal game against the Pelicans defense. The concern is the pace, 27th and 17th. You would swear watching the Pelicans that they're playing faster lately. There's no question about it. But still to be 17th is a little surprising. So, do they try to keep pushing the pace against a more talented Clippers team? Or do they go back to what they've been doing the majority of the year and actually playing pretty slow? We will find out. Clippers are in the top half defensively at 14th. And as we said, Pelicans 29th, second worst in the entire league. We know Beverly's out for the Clippers. Redick is out for the Pelicans, but it's early, so we need to see the designations, especially for the Clippers with the first night of a back-to-back. The probable lineup for the Clippers, Jackson, George, Kawhi, Batum, Ibaka, so similar play there as normal. Pelicans, Ball, Bledsoe, Ingram, Williamson, and Adams. So very interesting game with those matchups. Zion in play. I mean, he's in play. He's in a position that's pretty weak today or tonight. So, it's certainly on my, radar and somebody I want to look at. He's expensive, but again, I think he's going to continue to go up in pricing. And I think he's a, very solid play. Reggie Jackson jumps into the mix here. We've gone down this road multiple times this year. When Beverly's out, Jackson generally starts at the point and gets it done. And, he seems to have more trust in him recently than he did at the start. So I'm fine with Jackson as a cheap play. Kawhi and George, consider them both, look it over. I say you can only have one of the two personally if you want to be able to get to some of those other guys we talked about. Don't see rostering both by any stretch. Would like exposure to one of them if I can make that work. On the New Orleans side, the same group, Ball, Bledsoe, Ingram, Williamson, Adams. So, you can expect a decent game from Lonzo. He's got to try to catch his brother, LaMelo, who had a phenomenal game last night. Bledsoe, who's just been very on and off. Ingram had a great game last out. Can he come back to anywhere near that numbers? We will see. And then, not really interested in Adams either on the bigs there. So I wish I had the money to pay up, for Zion here. Just not positive that that's going to fly. On the Clippers side, again, one last mention, Jackson, when our man doesn't play, Beverly, I think, it makes Jackson just a fine play. He can score as well. So very interesting. I read a rumor last night on ESPN. It wasn't just, I don't know how much there was to it. It could be completely false, but it was reported by ESPN that there was not a possibility of, because it sounds like it's more in the works, but I guess there was just somehow some backdoor conversation about Lonzo Ball possibly going to the Charlotte Hornets for Terry Rozier, and they'd also get Nicolo Melli. So I thought that was a reason I wanted to mention. I thought it would be pretty cool if that would allow the Ball brothers to be the starting backcourt for the Pelicans. So that would be extremely interesting without question. But who knows if that's really going to happen. But I think, we're literally getting closer to 1 week from the trade deadline. You're going to see some stuff flying around. I think there's going to be some big moves this year. I really feel it. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Let's see here. We have the, how many points? Yeah. We've got the Toronto Raptors at 17-21 at the Chicago Bulls at 16-20. This is a 9 o'clock game. So there's no 10 o'clock game. There's two 9 o'clock games. So if you're building and saving roster spots, it should work out well for you because you're going to have two games to choose from. If you want to play somebody you're not sure they're going to play or not, but if they do, you want them in there. Just follow us on Discord very closely. Just if the best thing is, become a member, jump in. We'll do all of that research for you. We'll let you know who's playing, who's out. If there's minutes restrictions, if it's a back-to-back and they're sitting, etc. And, one player makes all the difference in the world. They can make your lineup or sink your lineup. So I know you guys out there and girls as well. Shout out to D-Lux. We have some female members. They can play fantasy just as good as the guys. But they, I think that creates a situation in this game with that high number, of 231.5. Man, that makes you interested in, in some of the plays here. Chicago's a 3.5 point favorite, by the way. And Toronto's on the second night of a back-to-back. At 17-21, they need wins. Same thing with the Bulls at 16-20. The question is, though, can Toronto withstand all these guys out? They've just been getting rampaged without any bench of any kind. I think they're only going to have 8 guys to dress tonight because not only do they have the huge amount of guys, Van Vliet, Siakam, McCaw, Flynn, Anunoby, and Harris all out, and then Boucher now is a questionable game time decision. So that would really make it tough. So their projected starting lineup is Lowry, Powell, Bembry, Jones, and Baines. And then, I guess they'll just have those couple of guys off the bench. But, I'm not afraid to play any of the Toronto guys because I think you're going to rotate quite a bit. But I got to say, I've been going to the different options there on Toronto. But, man, if Lowry and Powell can't smash this game, it is the second night of a back-to-back. I get it. They played quite a few minutes, but not like crazy extended down to the wire minutes. So I don't see how you don't consider. To me, you have to have either Lowry or Powell. It's just that simple. Against a poor defensive backcourt for Chicago, I think they're both in play. But here's the big news. Hopefully it doesn't get out there too much because they give us an edge. But right now, their probable starting lineup is listed as Kobe White, Levine, Williams, Markin, and Carter. But what I read that the coach in Coach Talk last night on one of the Twitter feeds from one of the beat writers is that Satoransky was going to start at center or at point guard over Kobe White, and that I think it was Thad Young was going to start over Wendell Carter Jr. and play either Young or Markkanen at center. So I'm loving that, man. I'm loving that. That makes Satoransky one of the better value plays because if he's going to get 30 minutes, that guy gets DFS points too, and he gets all kind in different ways, stocks, you name it. For a guard, he can get it done. So I do like the fact that he's going to get more run in there. And same thing with Thad Young. Look at his statistics this year. He's over a DFS point a minute. So he's been super efficient when he's on the floor. He's just come off the bench all the time with limits to his minutes. So I like both of those underdog plays that are going to be value plays. I think could have a big impact here. I'm not going to spend up for Levine in this game either until his price starts coming down a little bit. So, I want exposure to this game for sure. It may turn out with some of the news that goes on. Would be really cool if I could go Lowry, Powell, Satoransky, and Young here. I'd go for all four if the other stuff works out. And I think with this high total and with those guys getting the minutes, I think this could be a great play. So definitely an important one to leave you with. Really enjoyed going over this with you on this Sunday. It's going to be a good Sunday. We've got all kinds of opportunities. If you jump in as a member right now, we're going to get this out early in the morning. We can have you in there for the early slate lock, which is 2 p.m. Eastern for this the first two games, Memphis, Oklahoma City, and Utah Golden State. And then we can prepare for the evening slate that starts at 7 Eastern. So fantastic. Check us out, DFS Coach Talk. We're on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. I am at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Excuse me. Andrew is at Language Olympics. So catch us there anytime. We're always looking to answer questions, help out in any way that we can. So appreciate you very much. Appreciate you listening in to the podcast today. Really want to, thank the entire Coach Talk team. Really have exciting news. We're going to have podcasts and sponsorship this week from Monkey Knife Fight and Super Draft and, a couple other announcements that are really exciting for us going forward. And also, here's the big news for our members, or if you want to become a member, we are going to have our first ever NCAA pool with some great prizes. It is going to be, the teams are picked tonight and the tournament starts this week. So if you want a chance at some merch, some free memberships, all kinds of stuff, become a member and jump in our NCAA bracket, which we will circulate around with the rules to the contest later this evening. So fantastic. Shout out to our man Brett, who is going to be running that for us on the Coach Talk side. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in on this beautiful Sunday morning. Let's have a really great day. We're calling it the Smash It and Sweep Sweet Sunday, I believe. I think we're up to something like that. So, that sounds like money making to me. So let's get it done. So that is it. Catch myself and Andrew tomorrow. We'll be on our regular time, and we will get that podcast up on Monday morning. So crush today. Let's get ready to crush all week. Enjoy the golf, enjoy the basketball, and we will look to see you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS.